والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدم في الفدا واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله. Sorry for the delay. I'm used to of new links all the time. Then I have to find them because of so much long chat. We stopped at lesson 8 last week. We did not complete lesson 8. We did part of it. And we were explaining the attributes of the necessary being. And we said that this necessary being that we prove through philosophy or through logic, through simple logical proofs, we said that this proves that there is a necessary being, and then we discussed the qualities or the attributes. And those attributes we discussed last week. Some of them were that God or that necessary being is eternal, and the eternal being has to have some qualities that they have no beginning, no end, and then they are the cause. And that's where we stopped. They're the cause of, or the ultimate cause, or they're the real cause of everything. The same lesson, Allama Syed Rahmatullahi alayh, also goes into discussing that that this necessary being, when we say that has to have these qualities, and when we say that he's the cause, there are different types of causes, which are discussed in more depth in philosophical books, but we're not going to go into all the different types of the causes. We say that the necessary being is the ultimate cause. So he says, let's discuss some of the causes. For example, when we say a plant has grown, it has many different causes. It needs water, it needs soil, it needs the carbon dioxide, it needs the sunlight. But to start all of those things off, the seed needs to be planted. Now, there could be two causes for the plantation of the seed. And one of them is that a man or a person plants the seed. And second could be a natural. So nature basically causes a seed to grow. And so the seed is planted into the soil, and it takes the water from ground and the different things it needs from the soil to grow. And sometimes it doesn't have a man to plant, and the nature plants the seed into the ground. So there are two main types of causes Allama Syed has discussed. He says there are the preparatory elements, the preparatory causes, and the active causes. The preparatory causes are like mu'iddat. So the farmer for the plant. And then there are the illati active causes. The active cause or the real cause is something upon which everything always depends upon. So without it, it cannot function. Without it, it cannot exist. So sometimes you have causes without which a being can exist, and some causes without which a thing cannot exist. Unfortunately, some of the Muslim theologians have argued that God is like a farmer. So he's a preparatory cause. And we don't need God after he has created us. So once he creates us, we exist on our own accord. And he is only the cause of the existence. He is like a farmer. So once he plants, he leaves, and then we don't need him. Or like some of the Western philosophers who have argued that the world is like a clock that has been wound up and left to operate free of God. So we don't believe in this. We don't believe that God is like a preparatory cause. He is the real cause. Without whom, without him, we cannot exist at all. So we exist, not that he's like a farmer, he planted a seed and he left and he doesn't know about the seed, that it became a plant and it grew. No, it's not like that. He has created a system. This whole universe is a system, and everything runs on a system. He may not interfere, but he can. And this whole world runs on his blessings and on his complete will. So now at the end of this lesson, he wants to explain a few things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a cause that bestows existence. So he's a cause that, so we so far proved that there is the necessary being. The necessary being has many qualities, attributes, eternal, and other things, and it is cause. And it is, what sort of cause is it? It is a cause that bestows existence. Cause that bestows existence. It is mu'ti, i'ta'ul hayat. It is the cause that bestows, gives existence. So what are the characteristics of this cause that bestows existence? That's the last part of lesson 8. Taking into consideration what has been just mentioned, we can classify a few of the unique features of the cause that bestows existence. The cause that bestows existence. Number 1, A, the cause that bestows existence must possess the perfection that exists in the effects in an absolute sense. This is so that the cause could meet the needs of the existence as opposed to those material or preparatory causes that only create the environment. In these cases, it is not necessary for these causes to have the relative perfection of the effects. For example, it is not required for the soil to have the perfections of the plant. So the plant has leaves, the soil doesn't have to have the leaves. Or the parents to have the perfection of the child. For example, a child becomes a doctor, the parents were not. So the child cannot become a doctor because the parents they were not doctors. So hence the God that bestows creation must be absolutely perfect in essence. Okay, please come back. When we say that the cause that bestows existence must possess perfection, when we say perfection, so any perfection, because it is causing the effect, yes, it is causing the creation, the necessary being, is creating, causing meaning creating. So the qualities or the perfections that are found in the effects or the creation must be in the Khaliq, the creator or the cause. But that doesn't mean that it has to have every quality or every attribute of the creation. So, for example, the sunlight and the water and the soil, they are the cause of the plant or the farmer, but none of them contain the green leaves or the stem or any of the fruit or the flowers the plant has. None of them contain it. But there are perfections. What are the perfections? We will discuss later, but briefly. For example, knowledge is perfection. Life is perfection. Power or omnipotence, qudrat, is perfection. And all of these, the creator or the cause that bestows existence must have. Did everyone get that? So it has to have the perfections, but not everything. For example, a person can argue that, oh, well, we have a body and God doesn't have a body, so how can he give us a body when he doesn't have it? So just like that, the soil, the water, the sunlight, and the farmer, they don't have the flowers and the fruits that the plant has, okay? So only the perfections, which is life, knowledge, okay, and omnipotence. So the perfections, we will discuss what are the perfections. The cause that bestows existence brings its effect from non-existence into existence. It creates, but it does not lose anything of itself in the process of creation. Very important to understand. So the second quality that the cause that bestows existence must have is that it creates, but does not lose anything. Simple example, for example, a teacher that teaches his knowledge to a learner, a student, does not lose his knowledge. He gives his knowledge or her knowledge to the student, but does not lose that knowledge. Did you all get that? So the teacher gives the knowledge, but does not lose it. Likewise, when God creates, or the necessary being creates, which is God, it does not lose anything. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us so much, he doesn't lose anything because everything remains his property. We are his and everything is his, and he does not lose anything when he's creating us or when he's creating this universe. Okay? And the third and the final thing, the cause that bestows existence is the real cause upon which the effect is completely dependent for its subsistence, as opposed to the preparatory cause upon which the subsistence of the effect is not dependent. So Allah is the cause that bestows existence, and because it's a real cause upon which every effect completely depends. On perpetuary causes, things do not depend upon. So the farmer, even if he leaves, still the plant will grow. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves, he does not give his blessings and his bounties, then will not exist. So it is not as if he created and he left, like a farmer created. No, we remain dependent on him for everything, even this oxygen. Everything that we have is because, and for a minute, if he withdraws all of his blessings and bounties to this universe, everything will finish. So therefore, everything exists because he continues to bless this world with his bounties. Okay, that was lesson number 8. Unfortunately, I've only just finished lesson 8. I don't think I'll be able to go further to lesson 10. I've been trying to cover 2 lessons per lecture, so I'll now do lesson number 9. Now, lesson number 9, do you have any questions so far before I go on to lesson number 9? Or shall we ask the questions at the end? We'll ask the questions at the end. Okay, lesson number 9. Lesson number 9 is about attributes of that necessary being, because now we have proved that it is eternal being, it is infinity, it is unlimited, it is independent, and many of those qualities. I don't want to go into that. So now we want to prove attributes. And there are 2 types of attributes of this necessary being. And today we will prove that that necessary being is God. There are 2 types of attributes. Some are abstracted from the essence of God or the necessary being. Those attributes which are abstracted from the essence of God, wujud, they are called sifat-e-zat, or the attributes of essence, because they are abstracted from the essence of God. Yes, sifat-e-zat, sifat-e-zatiyya. Yes, attributes of essence. And then there are attributes which are abstracted from the creation of God. Yes, and those are called attributes of action. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 2 types of attributes. You know, when the Holy Quran says in Surah Nur, Surah number 24, verse number 35, Allah says, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. So he doesn't lose anything when he creates this universe. When we say, and you know, in the traditions, hadith, ayat, you know, many different attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have been discussed. They mention many different attributes. For example, Allah is perfect, Allah is beautiful, Allah loves, Allah is unlimited, eternal. He's majestic, you know, like so many attributes, you know, hundreds. There are 99 names of Allah, but there are hundreds of attributes discussed in the Holy Quran. Just in the Holy Quran, there are more than 200 attributes, if not more. Okay. Now, so in the books of philosophy, theology, and mysticism, there are many attributes of Allah discussed, but 2 main types. So all attributes can be divided into 2 types. Attributes of essence or attributes of action. When we say attributes of essence, they are like hayat, ilm, and qudrat. So attributes of essence are like he is ever living, he is all knowing, he is all powerful. Yes. So ever living, hay, all knowing or omniscient, alim or alim, and then qadir or qadir, omnipotent or all powerful. These are attributes of essence. That of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is essence. Wujud, the being. And when we say attributes of action, for example, khaliqiyat, he is a creator. Razaqiyat, he sustainer, you know, he gives sustenance. I'm on page, lesson number 9, page number 86. When I'm not reading off, you know, you then try and listen to me, because you may be reading off and then you will lose me, because my words will not be in the book. I'm only explaining the book. Yes, true, but I will be doing it differently than the book. So you can read the book in your own time, read it from beforehand, and if you don't read it beforehand, then read it after you've heard me say. Okay, it will make more sense, because if you're reading while I'm talking to you, then it won't make any sense. When we say attributes, pay attention. When we say attributes of essence, if there was no creation whatsoever, we will still understand. We will still understand those attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or God, even if there was no creation. Yes? You can, there's nothing. You still understand He's Alim. He has a knowledge. And He is powerful. Although there is no maqdur, there is no overpowered, still powerful. There is no ma'loom, meaning there is ma'loom, because in His knowledge from before He knew everything. So even from before He had power over everything. And hayat, His life. These three are the most important attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allama marhum Atullah Misbah, he says, although many other scholars have discussed many attributes which are sifat, he said, but just these three everyone should learn. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So when you say raziq, then what comes to mind? Marzuq comes to mind. When you say he is the sustainer, He gives sustenance, what comes to mind? Marzuq, someone who He gives sustenance to. Yes? So if there was no one receiving sustenance, then there is no raziq. So there is makhluk, so creation. So there is the other side. So you cannot understand raziqiyat without understanding the creation. For example, Allah is creator. You cannot understand the creator without understanding creation, because there are two, connected. That's why these are called attributes of action. So there is an action, and action means there is makhluk, or the creation. That's why there is action, and that's why these are called attributes of action. And even if there is no action, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His essence has certain attributes. His life. Second, His knowledge. Third, His power. Now, all of the attributes can be referred to these three attributes. For example, when there were no creation, Allah was still a creator, but He didn't create anything, so therefore He had the power to create. Again, goes back to Qudrat, omnipotence. Or He had the knowledge to create, one or the other. Or He had the knowledge, meaning He still had the omniscience to create. There was no makhluk, there was no creation, but He had the power or the knowledge to create. There was no one receiving sustenance, but He had the power or the knowledge to give sustenance. So these three attributes are very important, and with all of the attributes referred to them. Attributes of essence. Or for example, many have argued that amongst Allah's positive attributes, or not sifat subutiya, but sifat dhatiya, are Sami'u Basir. Sami' and Basir. Sami', all hearing. Basir, all seeing. God is all seeing and all hearing. Sami' Basir, He hears everything and He sees everything. We hear and see things, but we don't see and hear everything. I cannot see behind the wall. I cannot hear from another city. Allah sees and hears everything. إنه ترى خائنة الأعين يعلم خائنة الأعين وما تخفي الصدور. He knows even the slightest movement, or the slightest movement of the eyes, when we deceive with our eyes, and whatever the hearts are hiding. So He knows everything. So He sees and hears everything. When He hears and sees, Again, they refer back to ilm and qudrat. He has the power to see and hear everything. Did you all get that? He has the knowledge to hear and see everything because he doesn't have eyes or ears. He doesn't have a body. However, many theologians have argued that no, because he mentions وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ, he is all hearing and all seeing. It is an attribute of action. So there is masmu' and mabsu', it's something which is seen and something which is heard. That's why he's Sami'ul Basir. So these are attributes of action. But nevertheless, even if they are attributes of essence, then they refer back to the same ilm and qudrat, knowledge and omnipotence of Allah, omniscience and omnipotence of Allah. Okay, did you all get that? Am I confused or is it clear? Okay. Now there are two other attributes that the scholars have also added. One of them is kalam and the other one is irada. Allah is mutakallim and murid. Kalam is speech because وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا, Allah spoke to Musa. Did he create a sound? He spoke himself. How did he speak? We don't know. But nevertheless, some say that he has the power to speak. And this power to speak or speech is a attribute of essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So does he have the power to speak, the knowledge to speak? Or no, he is a speaker as a part of his essence. So we don't want to go to that. But again, we can refer the power to speak and the power to the knowledge to speak. Okay, we can refer them back to the two attributes. And the third is murid, irada. Many in the books of Kalam theology, they have mentioned that one of those attributes of essence is irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Murid, he is murid. He has innama amruhu idha arada shay'an yaqula lahu kun fayakun. That he intends, and his intention is that when he intends, he only says to the things be and they are, and it is be kun fayakun. So again, Allama Ayatollah Muhammad he says that they refer back to same ilm and qudra. So three attributes. He says in this lesson we will only discuss three attributes, the three most important attributes of essence, and they are hayat, ilm, and qudrat. Life, omniscience, and omnipotence. Now, when we say that Allah has these three attributes, why? These are part of his essence. Because, well, the necessary being has them. And then once we prove these, then we know that that necessary being is God, because he is eternal, cause of giving life, yes? The cause of, cause that bestows existence, and all of those attributes. But as soon as we prove that that necessary being is Hayy or Alim or Qadir, then it is God we're referring to. Okay. Now, because these three attributes are perfections, and most of his creations, or a lot of his creations, have these three. Now, stones and many things do not have life. Yes, but plants, animals, humans have life. Plants only have life that gives them growth. So they all have life, they have knowledge, and they have, so God must have them. To give this to the creation, he must possess them. So let me discuss hayat, each one of these attributes separately. Number one is hayat. Allah's creation has hayat. And when they have them, so then the creator must possess. So there are two types of life. One life that is a sign of growth and change. This does not apply to God. He does not grow, does not change, does not improve. So his life is, when we say that we We exist. Our life is a sign of action, of doing, of. So we were dead, we were nothing, we will be dead again. But then our essence has life. Animals move with free will. So God has life and his life is not like ours. And in philosophy, again, this is going deep, but I'm not going to go into that. That wujud mujarrad. Wujud mujarrad, when we say things which are immaterial. Yes. So immaterial beings also have a life. Immaterial things. Mujarrad is immaterial. Like ruh. Our spirit is immaterial. Our body is material. So even the immaterial beings which exist have life. And God is immaterial, but he exists. He is mujarrad. He is not material, but he still has life. Second is knowledge. And Allama Ayatollah Marhum Misbah Yazdi argues that it is one of the most self-evident concepts. It is the most apparent and self-evident concept, the concept of knowledge. But the reference of this concept among created entities are limited and deficient. And with these peculiarities, it is possible to generalize it to God, the Supreme. So although our knowledge is naqis, it is incomplete, limited, but because we all have knowledge, and it is very self-evident and most apparent that we have some limited knowledge, then the Creator, the necessary being, God, must have unlimited knowledge. He must have knowledge, and his knowledge should be unlimited. And that's why it's called Alim, unlimited. He's omniscient, knower of everything. He knows everything. So God's knowledge can be proven from different angles. One such approach is similar to the method employed to prove all the attributes of essence. Through Burhan al-Nazm, if you remember Burhan al-Nazm, everything is so well organized that there must be a creator for this whole universe, and there must be one creator because everything is so systematic, so well organized. And they likewise, since knowledge exists as an aspect of perfection in some creatures, indeed the ultimate and perfect form of it must exist within the creator. Okay. The second way to prove God's existence is with the argument of order. Well, that we already did. An orderly and perfect presentation and manifestation is clearly an indication of a precise, perfect, and knowledgeable manifest, scholarly work. Even if you have a piece of poetry, a book, or anything, you say that, the person who created it has knowledge. So the person who created this whole universe must have knowledge. This whole universe is so systematic, and everything is so well in order that the creator must be with knowledge. And the third way to establish God's knowledge is through the premises of speculative philosophy that are not self-evident, such as the principle that every independent immaterial existence is a professor of knowledge, as has been proven in the related books of philosophy and theology. Focusing upon the knowledge of God plays an important role in self-building and purification of the soul. And from this standpoint, it has been mentioned in the Holy Quran, he knows the treachery of the eyes and what the breasts hide. Now, the third reason or proof on the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he's given is that every independent immaterial existence is A professor of knowledge, meaning possesses knowledge. Professor of knowledge, meaning possesses knowledge. Yes, every independent immaterial existence is a possessor of knowledge. This is proven through theology and philosophy. Anything which is immaterial and independent. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so anything which is independent and is immaterial possesses knowledge. This is deeper, which I will not go into now. And he even doesn't go into it, he just only mentions it. And the third quality is qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, he keeps it very brief. I will need to explain it. He says that and let me just read this paragraph and I'll explain it. When an agent produces an action, fa'il does an action with an intention and free will. Two qualities: intention, niyat, irada, free will, ikhtiyar. Of its own, it is said that this individual has the ability and power to perform that act. Therefore, power means a living, voluntary agent, which is the origin, mabda of its action. Did you all get that? Very difficult. And he wrote it in only one paragraph, left it for the teachers to explain from themselves. Pay attention, everyone. I'll give you an example. You know, when you have fire in front of you, fire does not have free will. It is compelled to give heat. Yes, there is compulsion between fire and heat. Can you ever imagine fire without heat? Only in the computer, because it is not real fire. So real fire will always give heat. So there is compulsion between fire and heat. So it is compelled. Fire is compelled to give heat. God is not compelled to create. He created everything of his free will, ikhtiyar. He had free will. He had the free will not to create, but he created. So he wasn't compelled to create. So he had the intent, he wanted to create, and he had the free will. So intent, anyone who has irada and ikhtiyar. I have intention and free will to do what I'm doing. Therefore, I am responsible for my own actions. And if I sin, then I may be punished for it. And if I do good, then I may be forgiven for it. I may be rewarded for it. If I do good, then I may be rewarded for it. Sorry. So therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, read the paragraph. When an agent produces an action with an intention and free will of its own, it is said that this individual has the ability and the power to perform that act. Therefore, power means a living voluntary agent, which is the origin of its action. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created things from his free will, intent, and that proves that he is the origin of power. Okay? There are many, many examples scholars have given, and there are a lot of detailed debates here, but I'm not going to be going into them. Okay? So Allah is all powerful. Now, at the end of this lesson, he brings in 3 questions and he answers them. However, some people may argue that, okay, an action that is dependent upon power must have the possibility of being actualized. Thus, whatever is essentially impossible or necessarily absurd will never have any connection or relation to power. So the fact that God possesses power does not mean that he will create another God or that he will make the number 2 greater than number 3. So some people say that, okay, if he's all powerful, he has power over everything, then can he create another God? Creating another God, is not that God doesn't have the power to create another God. Nothing has the ability to become God, because then they would need to be eternal. They would need to have no beginning. They would need to have eternal life, no beginning, no end. And all of those are not possible. So there is no other God, and God cannot create another God, not because he has no power over it, because no one has the ability to become God. Okay. So can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place Ibrahim in hellfire? Not that Allah doesn't have the power. If Ibrahim doesn't deserve to go to hell. Okay. Second, the fact that God possesses the power to do everything does not necessarily mean that he will do everything. However, whatever he intends, he will execute. God, who is all wise, cannot perform an act that is unwise. However much he might have the capacity to act in an evil fashion. In the following lesson, we will explain more about God's wisdom. So Allah is all wise. Why will he place Ibrahim in hellfire? Because he is all wise. He will not go against his power. In this sense, includes the quality of free will. God, the Supreme, has infinite power, which implies he has perfect free will, which is not influenced by anything. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has power of everything, and he has complete free will. So his power is with free will and not with compulsion. Okay. We will allow you to ask questions. I don't think I can do lesson number 10. I was intending to do 2 lessons, 2 lessons per session, but unfortunately I haven't been able to. So I will still try and do as much as I can. Inshallah, we will continue next week. Now we can ask questions. Yes, questions. We will, inshallah, next lesson, we will cover Allah's attributes, like his attributes of action, creation, him being Lord, deity, all of those, inshallah, next week.
There's no written questions at this point. Does anybody have any questions? I can unmute you.
I think there were, but they were probably sent to me directly.
Maybe.
Okay, no, attend class. Okay. So the question is out of topic, but I want to ask, how can you teach your
related?
Okay, when you know that they are doing something wrong. Okay, only please connected questions. You can ask me this later somewhere. Free fire of Janab Ibrahim. Okay, fire of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam became, so is there a compulsion? When I said there is compulsion between fire and heat. So, Ya naru kuni bardan wa salama ala Ibrahim. So basically fire turned into flowers, and it turned cold, meaning it wasn't fire anymore. It converted into something else. So there was no fire. It was a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any other questions?
One question from me. So knowledge is quite difficult for me to understand. So is knowledge a creation?
Knowledge, creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, knowledge can be creation, but knowledge. So Allah is Alim. Not, you can also say he's ilm. You know, when you, for example, someone is very knowledgeable, you say he is ilm. He is so, you know, someone is so just, you say he is justice. So when you say Allah is ilm, you don't mean he is ma'loom. He is ilm, meaning he is the knowledge, not that he is the known. There's a difference between known and knowledge. So knowledge is created.
Okay, a few more questions have come through.
Yes.
Okay. It says, how can we explain that Allah wants to do good all of the time?
Allah wants to do good all the time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wants us to do good all of the time. Or he wants to do good. He is doing good all the time. He is given us life. There is ni'mat coming from him, faith, you know, all these blessings, all of these bounties in this universe, everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is doing good. His creation may be doing evil. And so he is giving the, through his power, he is allowing the movement, allowing this universe to exist, to expand, to compense. All of those are happening with Allah's rahmat, mercy, Allah's power, Allah's qudrat, and Allah's free will, and allowing it to happen.
Jazakallah. And a question before that I missed it was, says the attributes of essence are sifat zatiyah. What was the term for the attributes of action? Sifat
fi'liya, from fi'l, from action. Action, fi'liya. Sifat zatiyah, sifat fi'liya.
Okay, I'm not sure if this is a comment or a question. Miracles as we see something unexplainable, but there would be knowledge, in brackets, explanation behind it. As an example, how the stick transformed into a python. Are you asking, could you expand on that?
Okay. If they mean that, even miracle is a knowledge. Yes, it is a knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is a miracle. Miracle is something which is khariqul ada. Khariqul ada means which is extraordinary, something which is beyond human reach, something which is beyond human comprehension, something which is beyond human knowledge and human understanding. That's why it's called miracle. Mu'jaza. Mu'jaza is from ajiz. Ajiz is incapability. So we are incapable of bringing it, incapable of understanding it, incapable of performing it. It is only and only in the capability of Allah. Qudrat. So he does not unwise. So when he's doing it through wisdom, and it is his knowledge and wisdom that chooses a miracle or the need, or something which the people or the creation are incapable of. Is it an action of God or the action of the person performing the miracle? So it is action of God, fi'l ilahi, it is action of God, but through the person performing it. So he shows the miracle through whoever he chooses to show it through.
Jazakallah. A few more have come through. Does every creation have a purpose? And then a follow-on question to that: what about a child that was died before he was born, like a stillborn child? What's the purpose of the creation?
Okay, so everything, meaning not every part or every member of a species may have a purpose, but every species has a purpose. So every species, human beings have a purpose. All species of different animals have a purpose. But does every member of that species fulfill their purpose? Not necessarily. And do each and every member of that species have a purpose? Not necessarily. And even if a child, for example, dies young, all children make it to the paradise, even if they belong to non-Muslims, disbelievers, people who, even if they're born of people who did not believe in God, they make it to paradise, and they're all with Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. So children are born for paradise if they were born and they died young, or they were people of illness, people of incapability, like people who did not have full capacity, full potential, disabilities. So if some insane people, so these are all people who are forgiven. They have no accountability.
Okay, thank you. And kind of related question: when Allah has created everything with His free will, then why is there evil in the world?
Why is there evil in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a whole debate in this. That is evil. Creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like our Sunni brothers argue, like some of our Muslim brothers, sorry, I should have said. Some of our Muslim brothers argue that Allah created good and evil. He is the creator of good and evil. We argue He created good. Absence of good is evil. So He created Iblis, but He did not make him shaitan. He chose to become shaitan. Allah created Yazid, but He did not wish, He did not create Yazid. Yazid became Yazid by himself. So we believe that absence of goodness is evil. This is a whole debate, just put into few words. I can give many, many examples and continue on this for a long time.
Jazakallah. Okay, if there's no other questions, we have hit the 1 hour mark. Yeah, there's no other questions there. Jazakallah Maulana Syed, and I will send out the link. It is on YouTube, but I'll send out the link at the end of the session. Thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you.